Skill practice is a core component from the skill training portion and takes place immediately after skill theory. This component is broken down into two parts, passage coverage and answer justification, and this video will focus on passage coverage. During this component, students apply the skill in the exercises, which helps in confirming their understanding of the skill. To prepare for this component, you will need the workbook, script, MP3 file, and the answer key or class guide. To teach or simulate this component, you will need the workbook and the MP3 file. This component will be simulated during training.
Okay guys, let's go ahead and go on to the practice exercises. What I want you guys to do is listen all the way through. Okay, take as many notes as you can, and then answer the questions on the bottom. Okay. Ready? Here we go.
There are 3 steps in the process of creating a chimera.
Alright, good job taking notes and answering the questions. What we're going to do is we're going to review the passage and put up a set of notes on the board. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen. Before we listen, what is the first thing that we should listen for, Megan?
The topic.
Excellent job.
There are 3 steps in the process of creating a chimera. Let's look at the development of a human-mouse chimera as an example.
So what is the topic, Sharon?
The process of creating a chimera.
Good. And why is this the topic?
Because the word chimera was repeated.
Okay, good job. We're going to go ahead and listen to this again. And what is the next thing that we should listen for, Megan?
The main idea.
And why should we listen for the main idea?
It'll help us predict the passage.
Good. Let's go ahead and listen to this again.
There are 3 steps in the process of creating a chimera. Let's look at the development of a human-mouse chimera as an example.
What is our main idea, Megan?
There are 3 steps in the process of creating a chimera.
Good. And why is this the main idea?
It helps us predict the passage.
Okay, good. So based on this main idea, what do you think the major details will be about, Sharon?
The 3 steps to creating a chimera.
Okay, good. So we're still looking at this main idea. Let's try to figure out the pattern of organization. What do you think will be our pattern of organization, Megan?
Process.
Good. And why do you think that way?
It says 3 steps.
Good. And what type of verbal cue is 3 steps, Sharon?
It's a magic number.
Okay, good. Now before we move on, okay, if you guys remember from before, what is the example that we're going to talk about, Megan?
A human-mouse chimera.
Okay, good. Go ahead and write that down.
First,
Okay, what was the verbal cue that we just heard, Megan?
First,
Good, and what type of verbal cue is that?
process.
Okay. Now based on that, what is the next thing that we should listen for? Sharon.
The first major detail.
Good. Let's go ahead and listen for that.
scientists remove a normal mouse embryo from a pregnant mouse.
And what is our first major detail, Sharon?
Scientists remove a normal mouse embryo from a pregnant mouse.
And why is this our first major detail?
Because it shows the first step.
Excellent job. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and continue to listen to this.
Then they
Okay, what was that verbal cue you just heard, Sharon?
Then,
Good. And what type of verbal cue is then?
it's a process.
Okay. So based on that, what should we listen for next, Megan?
Our second major detail.
Good. So let's go ahead and continue and listen for our second major detail.
place the embryo in a petri dish and inject it with human stem cells.
Megan, what is our second major detail?
They place embryo in a petri dish and inject it with human stem cells.
Good. Okay. And why is this our second major detail?
It shows the second step.
Excellent job. Let's go ahead and continue and let's listen for the third step.
The human stem cells mix with the mouse embryo's own stem cells. Finally,
Okay, what was that verbal cue we just heard, Sharon?
Finally,
Good, and what type of verbal cue is that?
it's a process.
Good. So based on this, what is the next thing that we should listen for, Megan?
Our last major detail.
Okay, good. Let's go ahead and listen for our last major detail.
the scientists place the mixed embryo back into the mother mouse.
And Sharon, what is our last major detail?
Scientists place the mixed embryo back into the mother mouse.
Very good. And why is this our last major detail? Sharon?
Because it shows the last step.
Excellent job. Okay, good.